From the studios of News Talk 710 KNUS, this is Boyles Over, featuring extended web-only content from the Peter Boyles Show. You're not going to hear this stuff on the radio.
Hi, Peter Boyles. Of course, we're doing a little bit of lead into this. We had a little bit of glitch in the system. Anyhow, I think everyone knows we're at 710 KNUS and then AM 1460 The Answer in Colorado Springs. This is an idea that was generated, Mark Crowley, myself, Kelly Michaels, Brian Taylor. And we thought, well, why not stream, with the capability now of streaming on the internet, a streaming show that would follow the radio show, that would be uninterrupted, sort of behind-the-scenes look, and it's really been successful. And next week we're going to take 2 days and look at marijuana, both Tuesday and Thursday show. In the meantime, in this series, it's been, I think, pretty interesting to sit and talk with some people that have been very much a part of what we do on the AM side of what we do. And this woman right here is one of the best. Her name is Nicole Martin. We met almost 3 years ago, the story and what happened to Jack, and let's try and fill in some holes, and then how you got pulled into this.
All
so
right.
If you would.
So starting at the beginning, Jack was approached by two young men in July of 2012, and they came into his shop. He sat down with them. He was busy. He had to wrap up some things. But he sat down with them at a table much like this. They were sitting on one side, he was sitting on the other. They were looking at his work. Of course, he has a portfolio because he is a cake artist. And they were looking at his work, and they said, we're here to look at wedding cakes. And he said, okay. And they said, and one of the gentlemen said, it's for our wedding. And Jack said, I'm so sorry, I don't make cakes for same-sex weddings. I can make you cookies, brownies, birthday cakes, shower cakes. I can make you anything. I just can't make you a wedding cake. They immediately stormed out, one through one door, one through the other door. They shared, one of them I think shared some obscenities with Jack, and
They called him names.
called him names,
Yeah.
And what happened after that, within about 20 minutes, literally, was a campaign of bullying, harassment, and intimidation. The phone calls, emails, boycotts later ensued, and essentially Jack was being maligned because of his beliefs that he didn't want to create a wedding cake for a same-sex marriage event. He wasn't rejecting the people. He simply rejected the event. He said no to the event. And I saw what was happening in the news because of the boycotts were being covered by local stations. And I saw that he was being bullied, maligned, intimidated, and I thought, I'm just going to go over there, introduce myself, and let this small business owner grandfather know that he's not alone. That there are organizations committed to helping people, especially small business owners in the creative realm, live and work according to their conscience.
Yeah.
And I thought, I thought that reason would prevail, that these young men would get their 15 minutes of fame, and we would be on our way, and it would be over.
No.
I fully underestimated this tiger, which I grabbed by the tail in July of 2012, and they filed, I think they partnered with the ACLU right away.
I think they may have had the ACLU before they went in there.
They may have had the ACLU
Yeah.
before they went in there. They partnered with them, and for sure by September of 2012 they were lawyered up,
Yeah.
as we say. And thus began a journey of ensuring that creative professionals like Jack Phillips have the right to live and work according to their conscience without the fear of being unjustly punished by their own government.
It's Albert Camus.
That's how I
Yeah,
got
it really is. It's Camus, it's I Accuse, it's
Well-
the stuff that Sartre writes about. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is, well, it's Animal Farm.
another great parody.
And you like
Yeah,
to,
love
you
her.
like to quote Animal
Yeah.
Farm all of the time. And some people, in this instance particularly in the LGBT activist community, some people are more equal than others.
Well, of course.
And what's the most disturbing, well, there's two incredibly disturbing and troubling things about this case in particular that isn't shared by the other, let's call them rights of conscience cases that you've heard about. There's the T-shirt case in Kentucky.
Yep.
There's the
Tell these stories because people may not
Okay.
know.
The T-shirt case in Kentucky is a gentleman, his name is Blaine, maybe Anderson, but the name of his company is Hands On Originals. He was approached by the organizers of a gay pride parade to print their gay pride T-shirts. And he politely declined, said, "I'm so sorry, I don't make this kind of stuff." He's rejected all kinds of artwork and messages that conflict with his beliefs. I think there was a lot of evidence that he had declined other bachelor type stuff. He declined. He was promptly sued by the organizers. He even referred them, wrote down a name of someone else. But that doesn't matter because that's not what it's about.
It's not why they came in.
It's not about getting service.
No, of course not.
It's about bullying.
Or it's about
and conformance.
Destroying, that's right.
Yeah, it's about destroying. If you do not conform, you shall be destroyed. And so he referred them somewhere else. And that wasn't good enough. He lost at the administrative level, just like Jack. And then it went to a real court of law, a court of record, where he won. And where the court said he wasn't rejecting the people. There was no animus toward the people. He was simply rejecting the message, which he has a constitutional right to do under the First Amendment.
Absolutely.
So another case is Arlene's Flowers. The owner of that business is Baronelle Stutzman, also a grandmother. She's being sued both in the capacity of her business, and she's being sued personally by the state and the plaintiff in that case, whom she has been friends with for over 9 years.
I know that they knew each other.
They had a relationship, they had a friendship, and she said, I think his name is Rob. She said, "I love you, Rob." She didn't decline right away. She prayed about it, thought about it. And her response was, "I love you, Rob, but I can't create the flowers for your gay wedding because of my relationship with Jesus. It's not because of you, it's because of me." She's been sued. Her personal assets and her business are at stake.
And the beat goes on. There's a photographer.
Yeah, there's a photographer. They've already lost.
Yeah, they've been beaten.
They've been beaten. And they were admonished by the New Mexico Supreme Court and told, this is the price of your citizenship.
And we got those recordings of the inside. These are bureaucrats, appointed positions, and they're calling Jack Phillips a Nazi.
A Nazi and a slaveholder. Yeah.
And these are tapes that got smuggled out, bootlegged out. And this is their opinion of a guy. Now, I know the guy. And Nicole is Jack's lawyer, and I'm just some guy that knows Jack. Jack is this, like the humble little shoemaker. He's really who he is.
Oh, he is a gentle,
Yeah,
non-confrontational, quiet, humble man.
and he
Just wants to make his art.
And he is a little small bakery, and I got to tell you what, I used this term before. They shopped him. They knew he was there. He had refused 2 lesbian women who apparently, again, scenes are, as soon as you said no, they act out everybody. But the gay guys were far worse than the lesbian women, and they knew. They just knew that Jack was going to say no. But when you get to know Jack, and you watch Jack didn't say no to anything else he made. I mean, when people start talking about this as the lunchroom counters in Birmingham, no, it's not.
It's not a meal.
No.
And that comparison
But
is...
that's what's done.
Oh, of course it's done. They've hijacked, certain activists and certain groups have hijacked the civil rights movement where people were lynched, set upon with dogs. They
Fire
were
hoses.
hosed.
Yeah, sure.
And they compared that, those folks who peacefully wanted to get a meal and sit at the counter with everyone else, they compared that to Jack declining to make a wedding cake
Yet he would make cookies, cakes, pies.
Right.
I mean, any and all things. And he's consistent. And, and like I said before, I'm an advocate of gay rights. I'm also not a Christian. So I look at this fight, I think, as a logical, reasonable citizen of this country should look at it, is you do have some, very few left, but you do have some decisions and some rights. Jefferson was adamant about it. This is the destruction of, this is Animal Farm, this is progressive thought, this is political correctness at its, I still think, I don't say at its best, I say at its worst, but this is just the beginning. If you get this part of it, in which they very well may get, then there'll be something else, something else, something else. What we know is the witch hunters, I've said this many, many times, they never stop hunting. There'll be something after this and something after that. So when I first met Nicole and Jack, I came to work at Salem after getting fired at Cahow, and I heard about this story, this case, and we went and we met Jack, and I said, we need to do a fundraiser for this guy because it was his first go-round. And we were new on the air, and I didn't know what was going to happen. So we went there. It's the first time actually I met Nicole. It was a very cold morning, and killed it. Everybody brought money. People bought every one of his baked goods, and that's when I got to know the guy. And he really isn't outspoken. He really is this kind of, I keep saying shoemaker, but he is this, and he can go in these rooms and he can make this elaborate decorations. Now he doesn't make cakes anymore. He doesn't make
wedding cakes.
That's what I'm saying. He doesn't make wedding cakes for anybody, straights or anybody.
Which is really,
it's horrible.
they think it's a win. The left
and
the LGBT community thinks it's a win. And what it is it's
I showed
it's a
you.
Culture, it's a culture of intolerance and intimidation. And it fits with the belief that anyone who opposes same-sex marriage, it fits with their narrative. You shall be driven to the margins of society. You cannot participate. Those are the biggest bullies.
Absolutely.
The charges that that society was driving the LGBT community to the margins, and that we were intolerant and we wouldn't let them participate. And so their answer seems to be, according to Andrew Sullivan, who is a huge gay rights, who's gay himself, is a huge gay rights activist, and has been an outspoken voice in defense of LGBT rights. Yeah. And he's disgusted by this level of intimidation.
The first guy in the door that morning to contribute money was a gay man. Right. Put $100 and said, I wanted to meet you, and we talked. And this isn't an issue of being gay or straight, or an issue of, this is a fear of government and what these people can do. And these, by the way, are not elected officials. These are bureaucrats. And that's more important to notice, that these people, this is the bureaucracy. And these people didn't run for office. They were appointed, or they moved up a chain to get where they were. It isn't like this is a U.S. senator or a congressman. But they had the ability, and have the ability, to take this guy and in essence destroy his career. And then they call that a win. But what really is, and I say this about politically correct, they're witch hunters. I mean, if you read the story of the Salem witch trials, they were never enough. You had to find more and more and more and more and more until you're taking really innocent women and dunking them in the water and doing horrible, hanging them and burning them, and that's witch hunting. And that's what they did to Jack. And they hunted him. Now, what will happen to Jack next?
Well, first, Jack isn't going to go down without a fight. No. He's creating, luckily this is a generous, charitable community that is continuing to support him, continuing to patronize his business, and he's still making incredible cakes. I have to tell you, he made a cake for me for my son's birthday party this past Saturday. It was a replica, you'll know what this is, of the Millennium Falcon. And when I mean replica, I mean replica. It was amazing. You should have seen my son's reaction. If this guy isn't an artist, then...
Oh, of course he is.
He's a sculptor and a painter. It's truly incredible what he can create.
But you know what comes next. I mean, this is an inevitability that we have talked about this at great length. There have been things like the Piss Christ. There's been things like, the American flag in a toilet. There's been all totally legitimate. You can go in there and say, and I get it. I mean, I get the First Amendment. I'm offended by the Piss Christ only because I think the taxpayer paid for it. I'm offended by the American flag put in a toilet. You're supposed to walk up on the flag and urinate in the toilet. That stuff is offensive, but the First Amendment, as anybody that lives with the First Amendment like we do in the media business, it cuts both ways. And it's not what you like, but it's what you don't like. Well, in the case of these people, it's only what they like.
Right. It's only what they like.
Yeah.
It's the new age of bullying is upon us. And it's okay to bully someone who believes that marriage is between one man and one woman. Or that marital relations should be strictly marital relations. It's okay to bully those people. It's okay to intimidate them. And it's okay to destroy their livelihood. I mean, it really, when you think about it, when you break it down, Jack is being punished because sexual mores changed. Mm-hmm. Sexual freedom changed. So he was in business long before sexual freedoms changed. Mm-hmm. And hopefully he'll be in business long after. But that, when you boil it down, he is being accused of just simply not keeping up with the times, of sexual mores.
And here's where we disagree a little bit. I think when it was granted for men who love each other, women who love each other to be married, that was expanding freedom. It wasn't taking freedom away. But what happened? But what happened to Jack?
Sexual freedom.
Yeah, well, and it just said, that these two men are capable of loving each other, these two women are capable of loving each other, and nobody's been hurt. I mean, you look at no harm, no foul. But
Jack has been hurt.
But that's why I'm on Jack's side, because Jack is a guy that they're going to make believe what they believe. And in my world, Jack Phillips can disbelieve, Jack Phillips can say no, and we have to support his right to say no. We don't.
Right, because
Jack's not saying you can't get married. Jack's not saying anything like that.
Right. The expansion of sexual freedom doesn't, just because you oppose it doesn't mean you're infringed. Nobody's rights are being infringed. No, hurt feelings don't rise to the level
but in
of rights.
In political correctness, when they tell you, no one can have their feelings hurt, or if I'm offended, or we've been through this. We talked about, watching the Academy Awards when you watch Lady Gaga talk about college campus rapes. None of those things are true. The truth stories have perpetrated out and said, no, come on, it's all manufactured. That doesn't stop it. So, I think one of the jobs that I'm tasked with is to do things like this and say, it would be so easy to say, that Jack, he has to go. But if Jack goes, you're going with him. And that's the part that people don't understand. It's when John Doon talks about who the bell tolls, for whom the bell tolls. Bell tolls for thee. Mm-hmm. And you think it tolls for Jack, it tolls for you. Well, eventually, it tolls for me.
Absolutely. Eventually, they will come after churches.
Sure, of course. We've said that.
That's where it's going. It's already arrived. Pieces have already arrived.
And the theory is, if I understand it correctly, is, you served Peter and Nicole when they got married. So you have to serve Peter and Mark Crowley when they get married. You can walk in, if you walk into somebody's church and say, I talk about the Denver's cathedral, downtown, the Catholic cathedral. Well, you just married Peter and Nicole. Well, what about Jim and Bob? Well, we don't do that. Yes, you do. And the priest goes, I don't do that. Well, yes, you do that. Or
you're a 5-0, you have tax-exempt status, you're going to do it.
Or you're not going to be a priest anymore. Which one do you want?
Or you're not going to have your tax-exempt status.
Exactly. And we'll fix you, because then, and when
we will rehabilitate your wrong thinking.
And they had re-education camps, as you know.
Right. It's extremely, every American should be troubled. A government that can force you what to say is bad enough.
And can also then force you what to do.
What to create. Yeah. The reason this case is particularly troubling, I want to wrap up that thought about the other businesses that have been forced to create expression or art. Mm-hmm. The reason Jack's case is particularly troubling is because we've learned definitively that it only cuts one way. Yeah. That when the Christian gentleman walks in to 3 different bakeries in Denver and asks for biblical cakes.
I know this happened. They told him no.
Right. He asked for some biblical quotes.
There was something about, and I remember there were lines that were going to be from Old Testament or something.
Yeah, it was Old Testament. It was Old Testament scripture, and then one of the cakes had like the Ghostbuster signal with 2 figures of So it had some symbolic speech and it had some actual speech.
And what did they say?
And the Colorado Civil Rights Commission
That's fine.
said, that's fine. The bakers weren't rejecting you, the Christian. The bakers were simply rejecting the message. And we're sitting here going, so it goes to some people are more equal than others.
And that's Animal Farm.
And that's where we are.
Some animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than the other animals.
That's
and
right.
So if, and it always, all of this is political correctness. All of it is. And Jack Phillips has the right, and I've sat and talked with Jack, and Jack believes that this art, this ability to perform, this art that he has, was given to him by his creator. It was a gift. Who's going to tell him he's wrong? I'm certainly not going to do that. And that's his belief. And so but he doesn't make Halloween things because of ghosts and those kinds of things, and it's an anathema to Jack. He doesn't do dog marriage cakes. He doesn't do that kind of stuff. And he's consistent. It doesn't matter. And that's the point of all of this, and that's why, what did they say? Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Yeah.
So what happens next? And by the way, have you ever noticed they never go to a Muslim baker and ask this Muslim baker to bake a gay wedding cake? The Muslims have won. I mean, in Canada, the story of the lesbian woman that wanted her hair cut like a guy, she went into the barbershop, I think it was in Toronto.
Well, they kept that outcome private and sealed.
Everyone was happy, but she never went back for a haircut.
Right.
The Muslim guy won because, we've been over this thousands of times, Islamophobia is the worst politically correct crime you can commit. You can be Islamic and be cleaner than being gay or being, whatever else falls underneath that. So as a Muslim, he didn't have to do that. As a Christian, Jack had to do that. So what do we follow up on?
So where we are at right now is we are patiently awaiting the Colorado Supreme Court's decision about whether it will hear Jack's case. We've been waiting on that decision for several months now. I think they'll take it.
Oh.
I think this is a novel case of first impression. It's critical. People have speculated that they won't take it after Obergefell because Obergefell settled the matter. Obergefell...
Tell that case so people know.
Obergefell is the decision where Justice Kennedy was the author, saying that same-sex marriage is legal in the United States, and all states must
adhere.
Yeah. So, but what's important about the Obergefell decision is Justice Kennedy had the wisdom to proclaim that many people of differing philosophical, spiritual, and religious backgrounds feel differently about what same-sex marriage is, or what marriage is, rather. And those people are people of good faith and goodwill, and they should be able to continue to oppose same-sex marriage.
Absolutely.
But what we have here in Jack's case is a court of appeals that actually said opposition to same-sex marriage is tantamount to discrimination.
Yeah.
Therefore, ipso facto, you believe in same-sex marriage, you're a bigot.
That's right. And
it's truly, truly astonishing.
And that's why I think logical people should be in this fight on the side of Jack Phillips. Now, you can get all emotional and wrapped around the axle and believe what you want to believe. It's true with anything. But when you stop and think about it, I go back to John Doone all the time, who said, "The bell tolls for thee." And if you think that, let Jack go hang, what's next? What do they want next? Do they want to go to your church or your shul, or, and come in and find you actually marrying a couple of straights, and then just what happened to Jack? Two people walk in and say, "Marry us," and Rabbi says no.
We're going to force graphic artists
Yeah.
to create all kinds of art and imagery and marketing for the priests for life or Planned Parenthood.
And right now in the world, it's happening, and it's called ISIS. And this is where they roll into a town, and everybody adheres to this Shia form of, this Sunni form of strict Islam. If you don't, you go to the chop. Well, why? Because you don't believe what we believe. We're telling you what to believe. Oh, you don't believe that? That's fine. Well, here's your out card. And no, I mean, seriously. And so when they can start to filter through Denver or Newark, New Jersey, and say, you go, you stay, you go, you stay. And that will happen. And it's happened historically time and time and time again. So how's Jack doing with all of this?
He's great.
Yeah.
He's unflappable as ever. Of course, he worries about his future because wedding cakes are 40% of his business. They are the bread and butter of his business.
And there wasn't anybody better. When I'm telling you how good this guy is, that guy's that good.
He is that. He's incredible.
Well, you know what we should do as we get to the end of the segment. Where is he? People want to know. Where
they can go to Masterpiece Cakeshop at Wadsworth and Hamden, and he will make them whatever they can imagine, whatever they can conjure,
and
he can make it.
And when you see what an out-of-the-way little store it is, you know damn well they shopped him. Because this idea that they say, no, we're in the neighborhood, and we thought you'd make us a wedding cake. There's no way. That never happened. They knew exactly who he was, where he was, and what his politics were about. I firmly believe they had the ACLU in their back pocket. They were ready to go. They had these people working in the government, good to go. Everybody was signed up, and they just dropped a hammer on that guy.
I know, I just want to correct one thing that you said. When you say politics, and I know you mean that more very generally, because you and I certainly have politics.
Of course.
Jack couldn't be more apolitical. It is...
Well, his religion, which is his politics.
It's totally his faith. That's what drives him.
Well, that's much better.
His relationship with God and being right with God is his rudder, literally. That's what drives him every day. He wouldn't make, let me just share with your audience. Early October, like October 2nd is one of my daughter's birthdays. She wanted a fall-themed birthday because her birthday's in October. Right. Jack would not make me, his attorney,
his lawyer, right?
a pumpkin, not a jack-o'-lantern, a pumpkin. And he said, if it was November, maybe I could do it, but because it's so close to Halloween, I don't feel right. He wasn't rejecting me. He was simply rejecting the event and the timing and what it might suggest to his creator. Honest to God story.
I'm telling you, man, I know. I mean, I've heard stories about this guy, and
he just.
If you think if these people closed his bakery, that he's going to somehow relent.
Right.
Not a chance.
And so what is the harm in him simply living his beliefs?
He thinks differently.
Right, that's the key. You cannot have anyone thinking differently. And the plaintiffs have argued, Charlie and David have argued that Jack is free to believe. Thus, you and I, we're free to believe. Everybody watching this, we're free to believe whatever we want. Well, thanks a lot. Thank you for the charitable, your largesse.
As if
that matters. As if the Constitution says you can believe whatever you want. You just can't act on it.
Well, now that political correctness has come to town, the words of Trotsky, we must be politically correct. But now that these guys have come to town, but what a gift from these guys. You guys, really.
You're free to, you can think whatever you want in your head.
Yeah.
It's nothing. The First Amendment means nothing if I can't act on those beliefs.
That's it. Fastest half hour we do twice a week. We're here at 9:30 in the morning. Nicole Martin, who's the attorney for Jack Phillips Masterpiece Bakery, she's a hit. We'll be talking, I know, pal. Thank you very much. Mr. C, thank you. See you tomorrow morning, Friday morning on 710 KNUS AM 1460 The Answer. We have Tom Tancredo on, who got jobbed by Mitt Romney when they came in and cut his throat with that money that came here through the Beau Pray campaign. You never heard the story before? See you tomorrow on the radio side. Thank you.